Dan, I just flew in from Maine, and boy, are my arms tired.
Your arms are tired, man. Well, I'm anxious to hear about this trip, but I wasn't expecting anything to do with your arms being tired.
Okay, so I'm serious. This is twice I've used this joke on you, and you've missed it.
Oh, flew in from. I get it. Okay, bird. Yeah, I'm. It's over my head. It flew right over my head.
Yeah, you got to get up pretty early in the morning to keep up with me.
Yes, I thought maybe you were like carrying so much stuff around the show, that you were gathering up or something, hauling logs or something.
Well, the show that I was at, my arms weren't tired, my legs were, because I had probably put on about 20 miles a day.
Whew, really?
Yeah. For those of you listening, I spent a half a week in Maine and attended I've called this event 20 different things. It's the Loggers Expo 2023, the Northern Loggers, the Northeast Loggers Expo 2023. Anyhow, it was in Bangor, Maine. And I was there, Tuesday through Sunday. And I had an enjoyable time, but I also found myself physically exhausted. It was a very windy day. It wasn't raining. Both days of the event, super windy. And I was standing out in the sun, so I kind of got too much sun, and all that wind, it kind of sucked all the life water out of my body.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And there's a little trick that I had learned, and we have a commenter, a subscriber to both our channels, David Edwards.
Yes.
He always encourages us to stay hydrated, and I appreciate that, because the older I get, the more you get in tune with your body and how things affect it. And certainly hydration plays a large role in remaining flexible and all. And when I travel, especially when I fly, I make it a point to quit drinking water. Otherwise, I'll be running up and down the aisle on the plane and everyone's going to get tired of seeing me. It makes for a more enjoyable travel experience. So I forego some water. I don't drink as much. And what do you know? I'm home. The very first morning I'm out loading my truck for a delivery, and I kind of pull a muscle in my rib cage.
Oh no. Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's kind of slowed me down. And when I just turn the wrong way at like a little micro movement, it feels like I just got shanked and I lose all the air from my lungs.
So, in other words, what I'm hearing you say is you went on a trip, you walked a lot, you're getting old, and you pulled a muscle this morning.
That reminds me, I went to graduate school. I lived in Memphis, and I lived in this apartment complex next to a minor league baseball player. And he was a fascinating guy. At the time, he was the only Russian-born player to ever play in Major League Baseball. And he was on the Pittsburgh Pirates staff. And I'm a baseball player too. I was never as good as him. But he had always said about how because he was he was a very healthy, he was very into his conditioning. He ate right.
Yep.
And he had said, the reason that you see all these baseball players that get hurt all the time and all these pulled muscles is because they're big drinkers and they're always dehydrated. So they come to the park the next morning and they pull a muscle because they're dehydrated.
Oh.
Yeah, and that had always stuck in my head. So here I was, I'm kind of not as hydrated as I normally am when I pull a muscle.
Wow. Well, so how was the trip otherwise? How did it compare to, say, the Paul Bunyan show in size and scope and everything?
So it was generally smaller, but I think it was the layout of it made a lot of sense, and it also utilized an inside Coliseum. And I don't think the Coliseum was like major league size, that the Cleveland Cavaliers would play at, or a major league hockey team. It was more of like a smaller regional sized coliseum, but they had the concourse that where you would walk around it with vendors, and they had some big equipment on the floor where the hockey rink would go, or the basketball court.
Yeah,
And that
well,
was really cool.
yeah, that'd be nice to, if the weather was bad, you could at least get out of the rain or something.
Yeah, it was at a kind of like a fairgrounds kind of a thing with the grandstand and then the horse track that goes around it. But there was nothing on the track like Paul Bunyan, is the entire racetrack, and the infield is just filled. This had nothing on it, but everything was on pavement in the parking lots.
Oh, huh.
Yeah. And, it was the usual fare.
And you were
It
at
was,
the Fox Forestry booth. That was like your main appearance where you were at, right?
yeah. And that was a first for me to meet Tom Fox. And he is quickly at the top of my list. He is an amazing individual. I hope we can get him on for a podcast. There are certain people that you come in contact with if it is in your profession and you just feel inadequate. You're very confident at what you do, and then you meet someone like this guy. I mean, he is something. He is just he has 3 different businesses. He travels monthly and bi-weekly to Sweden, and he is a career timberer, but he's educated. He has an advanced degrees in ecology, timber, and all. And when you first meet him, he's just this imposing figure. He kind of reminded me. Remember the famous football player Merlin Olsen? And he was like Mr. Garvey on Little House on the Prairie. Just this big hulking man. He had a big beard, but he was he's a gentle giant. And he was just such a huge personality. And man, is he passionate about firewood and timber, everything, chainsaws and sawmills.
Nice.
And I was just blown away by this guy. He was something. But he is a new vendor for the Yapa firewood processor. And that was the relationship that I had up there. I traveled with Bob Nelson and his team from Metza Machines. And that's where I got to meet him. I was just very impressed. I did an interview with him. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get it onto my YouTube channel because I want to introduce him to everyone. But I think we need to work on getting him on board with the podcast. His name is Tom Fox from Fox Forestry. And he just won this major award, an innovator. And I'm all into innovation in this industry. He had a luncheon with the governor of Maine. This award that he won, he is a big deal.
Wow. Well, that sounds pretty cool. So he had his products and everything combined with Yapa, and you guys were like all in the same area?
Yeah. He had bought his spot at the show. He had his tents set up, and this guy, he just doesn't sell things. He surrounds himself with good people. He is a team builder. He sells the Lagasaw sawmills, and he brought over one of Sweden's master sawyers, and he was there. He brought over this huge guy, a huge YouTube channel from Sweden, and he was there. And I was hanging out with you, and it's just, I mean, these guys are just major league in our industry. It was just great to be there. And then he would have everything, his products at his location for sale, chainsaws and gloves and all.
Yeah.
And, but there was a lot of traffic at his tent, and there were a lot of people that came, wearing Ohio Woodburner t-shirts. I got to hang out with a lot of neat people. I met a lot of neat people. It was nice.
Nice. Well, this sounds like a heck of a trip that you were on. I was kind of disappointed. I was planning on going to this one way back at the beginning of the year. Out. Yeah, and then other stuff came up. I wasn't able to make it, but that's sounding fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of comments that this was for a lot of people, their first trade show in a long time that they didn't get rained on. So I didn't feel a single raindrop, and that was nice. The temperature was perfect. It was just major winds. There was a lot of tents getting blown over into Canada from the wind. But it was nice. It was more timber industry focused.
All right.
You know, the big machines and the harvesters and all. But I'm serious. There was a lot of firewood companies there. A lot.
Nice. Well, that was going to be my next question. Is I was wondering, was it kind of leaning towards that forestry, timber, big heavy equipment type of expo, or was it, firewood mixed in here and there? I know that like Easton Made and Wolf Ridge were there, and Yapa, and I'm not sure who else, but I saw a few things on social media about those companies attending.
Yes, there. I'm going to just, I didn't write this down, so I'm going to just go down through my mental notes here. I'll try to be efficient. So let's go. There was Yapa, Easton Made, Wolf Ridge, Timberwolf, Built Right. There was a processor company I had never heard of. It kind of looked like a Range Road style, but it was branded something different. There was Brute Force, Multi-Tech, Typhoon. I always like that machine. It's made in Slovenia. It's European style. I don't know, but I just like the color. I think it's a pretty blue. It just appeals to me. There's Typhoon, Cord King, Hacky Pilkey, and I'm probably leaving something out. If I remember as we go forward here, I'll just throw the name out. But those were the main ones. And I did my best I just did a standard compilation video. I just walked around and took videos of machines. And if people were willing to talk to me, I would, have them give me a quick 30-second, what is this kind of a thing?
Yep.
And yeah, it was nice. For the most part, it was nice. And I met a lot of people that were passionate about what they were doing. And I think it reflects in the videos that I put up.
And you mentioned that you had quite a few people recognize you and came up to say hi. So there was followers of the firewood community out there.
There was a lot. And the one lady, you know how like every business, there's like the owner, but then there's like the lady that's the one that gets everything done. I don't think Tom will have any anxiety with me saying this. He has a person, her name's Jennifer. I mean, she is in charge. She knows everything that's going on, and she's with Fox Forestry. She came up to me afterwards and she says, I cannot believe the amount of people that had come out here to see you. Yeah, that came to the tent. Nice. Yeah, it was great. And I met a lot of nice people that I haven't met yet. And there was the one couple that came to my open house. They were up there in Maine. He's looking at buying a Yapa, and a really nice couple to talk with. And a lot of people, everyone that I met too, they're into firewood. And if they hadn't been selling it, they're starting to get into it. That is what I like, where people, I think they see what I'm doing. And I think it's like, they're like, well, if this guy can do it, then I sure as heck can do it. Yeah, it was nice. There was a lot of young people and a lot of young kids. And what I always notice with the young kids, firm handshake, eye contact, Yeah. And yeah, a lot of people are down on the new generation. I'm not. I think they're just fine. And I see it in the young people that are, showing up to these events.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what was your biggest takeaway? Like, what was there anything that you were impressed with that you kind of wasn't on your radar going in, or anything that kind of stood out from this show? I mean, this was the first show of the year, I think, for like major expos as far as forestry and firewood. So anything jump out at you?
I'm hesitating right now. Uh-oh. Okay. No, it's not bad. I think that when you attend enough of these shows, and I think a lot of us, we probably only attend maybe one every few years. But it's kind of like your county fair. Like when we go to the county fair, it's always the same. The gyro buggies in this corner,
Yep. Yep.
the Ferris wheel is always here. It's always the same vendors. There is a level of redundancy there where you're always starting to see the same thing. And I have made critical comments in the past, not about the trade shows, but about the firewood industry in general, that there's not a lot of innovation. There are some things like you see with Easton made, with the 37D, obviously the Axis, I'm going to the vertical stuff. And then certainly with Yappa, with the 405 and that perfect split. A lot of the people that come, now they didn't have a 405 at this show, but that's what everyone was talking about. I think that I did not meet a single person that didn't bring up the 405. Innovative. And that's what our industry needs. I like to see innovation. So there is a level of the same thing, but at the same time too, come on, if you're in the machines, what isn't there great to see about some massive Forester? There was that one company from Finland. It's Ponsi is the name of it. And I was walking around with Lowry, who works for Yappa. He flew in from Finland to come to this show. And we were walking around and he heard two people off in the corner speaking Finnish. So he just walks, because he got a big kick out of that, but Finnish is not a very popular language out there, I'm here to tell you. So that was cool. So there was, it's just neat to see all of the cool machines. Okay, period. But at the same time too, I'm always left craving. Like I had gone to this one hoping to find, because I have a need in my business for my wood yard. I have a need for, I think what the Europeans call billets, or what we call rounds, or split firewood. I'm not into these bags. I don't think they're going to work for me, so I'm not even paying attention to the bags. I would like to see something out there that is innovative, that solves the problem. We're coming out with all these super duper productive firewood processors, and the bottleneck continues to be stacking. Can we come up with something that fills the hole in this industry? Someone out there, please, let's go. Let's get it going and let's get this problem solved. And it is not these vinyl bags. I'm here to tell you.
I think it was what you mentioned earlier, the young generation with the handshake and the eye contact. There's your stackers.
There we go. Yeah. Well, that's been my solution right now, is to pay a high school kid $20 for a cord. And you do the math, I think that's where it's at right now.
Doesn't that one company though, that Posh or whatever, have those drums that like mesh wrap pallets?
Yeah, they were not there. If they were there, they weren't there, because I'm pretty sure I saw every square inch of that place. So they were not there, and that was a disappointment for me. But there's I recall at the Paul Bunyan show, there was another company that made them too, but I couldn't get a word in edgewise with the group there. They had a bunch of people that they were talking to every time I was down there. It's like they were yellow in color. I think they were from France.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I struck out in that capacity. I had my business hat on, and I'm trying to solve a problem. But that went unsolved.
So stacking will continue in the new Ohio Woodburner Woodyard.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so I hope this doesn't come off as a complaint, or if this comes off as self-serving or arrogant, because I'm not speaking from this viewpoint. I still get very interested in the number of people that have zero interest in talking to me for a 30-second, tell me about your machine kind of thing. Because there was, I don't know, Dan. This is one of the parts of my role as a content creator that I'm very uncomfortable with. I hate asking people if you want to be on video. And when I'm out in public, it's very awkward for me to talk to vlog out in public. It's awkward for me. I hate asking people. And that's probably why I don't do a lot of videos of deliveries, because I don't want to ask the homeowner, because I feel like I'm putting them on the spot. But you can still get the temperature of someone when you're talking to them if they have any interest in it. and you talk with people, and oh man, there's just like, I talk with people and they're like, heck yeah, man, let's go. You're going to see, I ran into Chris Wolf. And he was all about, he wanted to talk about his machines and help everyone get to know him. And there were some other videos too. And there were others where I couldn't find who was in charge. They weren't there. The one company, it was, I don't know what country they were from, but the guy, I couldn't understand a word he was saying. So I just ended it there. And then there were others that, it was weird. They look at me like, I don't know, they don't know who I am, and that's fine. But, I have a resume, and they can look it up really quick on their phone to see that I'm legitimate. I'm professional. I'm not going to make them look bad. And I don't know. I just saw that as an opportunity lost, not just for me, but for them, because I was able to there's going to be, my videos get some good views,
right?
And they're going to get they can get a lot of visibility free of charge.
Well, and generally that is the point of doing trade shows and expos like this, is to get exposure. So you would think that the people there representing whatever company they're representing would understand any added eyeballs that you can get on your product is a win. That's what you are there for. And I've been in that position too, where I've seen, I've walked by a trade show booth, and the people are standing with their arms folded, and they're just like glaring, like they're intimidating. They're not inviting, they're not engaging. And then I've walked by other ones where, you just look at them and they're starting a conversation, not a sales pitch, just a conversation. And that's, so noticeable when you're out at things like this.
I was at a booth, and I walked past, and the gentleman says, "Joe, Ohio Woodburner." So I go over and I'm talking with him, and we're having a great time. We're talking about our backgrounds, where we're from, and what firewood means to us, that kind of stuff. And I says, "Hey," I says, "if you want, I could do a quick 30-second here with you, just talking about your machine." And he says, "Well," he says, I'm not real comfortable in front of this, but my whoever was in charge, let me go get him, And this guy comes over, and I'm serious. He's looking at me like I had two heads, number one. So I'm reading nonverbal behavior. And he was like, "Well, what's this going to be about?"
Yeah.
"Well, what about if I call?" And I was like, God. So my refrain is, because I always default to being polite. I was like, "Well, I tell you what, I'll come back."
Yeah, give it some thought. I'll stop back.
Yeah, and then oops, I forgot to come back.
And then you just
that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that's odd to me. I don't know. Yeah. And then the other part too, I think that also, am I making a leap here in drawing conclusions that if this company, which I'm telling you does not have a presence on social media, is hesitating towards an opportunity to talk to an influencer, like Ohio Woodburner, maybe that's given you insight that's, they're blind to that entire side of the industry.
Yep. Yeah. They have their blinders on. They're not aware of it, or they don't think it's very significant and it's not worth their time. So,
which to me is a shame, because I'm telling you right now, that there is not a machine in this world that will not be sold without the customer looking for a video on YouTube first.
No. Yep. Everything. And that's like I said, there again goes back to the companies at trade shows, but even like just companies in general. If you speak to someone in their marketing department, they either get it or they don't get it. It's night and day. Like they either, they get it or they don't immediately.
Yeah. Okay, Dan, I don't know if I wanted to go here, but I think I will. There is another, I'm not qualified to give a rundown of this side of the business, but it's involving the kilns.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of came away frustrated with the kilns.
Uh-oh.
I'm serious. I haven't a clue what I'm talking about with kilns. I know what they are. It's a box and it gets hot inside and and all the moisture rushes out of the wood because of the heat and the air movement. Okay.
It's a big oven.
I don't know. Okay. That being said, I don't understand the economics of it, how much the machine costs, depreciating its use over X years, the cost to run it because of the electricity for the fans or the expense for the gas or the propane or whatever. Okay. And I also don't understand the sizes on why they make them the sizes that they are, because it seems to me, why can't they make a kiln that's like would hold 1 quart of firewood? Why do they always have to be so big? Why can't they be smaller? And then I talked to a couple of these guys, and the other frustrating thing is they don't, at least the ones that I talked to, they don't run on wood or biomass, or waste. Because I mean, come on, a firewood service creates waste.
Yes.
So why can't we burn it to create heat to light up one of these kilns? The first one I talked to was gas only. And then the second one was electric only. And I don't know if you want to, I guess you could probably get an outdoor wood furnace and like hook it up like that. But why? Why can't it just be already set up to be that way?
Right.
And that is just the frustrating thing. I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone because I was all about kilns when I showed up, and I left scratching my head.
Well, that's too bad. No answers. You had nothing about the kilns.
Well, it's probably my fault. I need to dig into it more, and it's probably because I don't understand, or maybe the needs of a firewood kiln isn't in the sweet spot of the manufacturer, because they still got to make their money.
Yeah.
I would imagine the controls and the expense of the controls are the same dollar amount on a gigantic machine versus a very small one.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes the smaller ones not as economically feasible. I don't know. But maybe I'm going to task myself with understanding kilns. But I left Maine frustrated. Because I think that a kiln is in my future. Maybe not my immediate future, but I see a kiln as part of a natural evolution of Ohio Woodburner.
Yeah.
But now after this trip, maybe not, because I wasn't feeling real excited about what I was listening to.
Well, I don't know. I remember a while ago when you said, I see in my future moving to a commercial wood yard. And look at you now. You're there. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah, well, I have no relationship with anyone with kilns. I mean, zero. I have no contact. I know nothing. Like Sergeant Schultz here. I know nothing. I see nothing. And it confuses me. It just seems, especially when you look at we talked about the evolution of the firewood industry, and especially with these EPA stoves,
Yeah.
And burning green wood in them. Come on, man. A kiln makes perfect sense. Why aren't these things at the leading edge of innovation? And
yes.
And then the conversations that I tried to have as a firewooder just fell flat, very frustrating.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So you came home with sore arms and frustrated over the lack of answers.
And a raw spot on my scalp from scratching my head.
Oh, dang.
There's probably some kiln companies out there pounding their fist on the table right now because I got everything wrong. But
if there's anyone listening with information, email us at thewoodhounds@gmail.com.
Yes.
And if you are a owner, marketing person of a kiln company, hey, open invitation. Come on.
I am an open book, but I hope the words biomass or wood waste is part of your product.
Yeah, because that makes
Come
sense.
Come on, man. It's just, I guess you could probably create it your own, you know? You can invent your own system to use wood waste, but guess what? I'm not going to do it. I can't get my yard mowed. So I need a product that would have the biomass or wood waste as a fuel option.
Yep.
You know? Yeah, that was, you and I were talking before and I kind of got agitated. That's why I thought I wasn't even going to bring this up for this episode, but here we go. That could probably have been its own episode on what is up with these kilns, man.
I think it's good though when you know this is hearing the experience, this is what happened. You had a good time, but there's that one thing that stuck out that you wanted to get info on and you didn't.
Yeah. Well, there's two things, you know, the stacking machine.
Yes.
Yeah, the stacking machine and now the kilns. They're on my. Yeah, I'm an open book. Please educate me. I'm willing to learn. So I had even mentioned that with the owner of Container One, Glenn, where I got my shipping container, because you know you can make your own. There's plans out there.
Yeah.
And insulate them and put in some fans and put in a heat source. But guess what? I am not going to do it.
Yeah.
You probably can, but I cannot. I just am not going to do it. I am willing to see what's out there though in this industry. And I don't know, maybe what I think exists doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to put a pin in that, Joe, and what they like to call that work here for me is we're going to have to have that as a takeaway.
Yes.
So
let's table this discussion.
Yes, we'll table it. We'll stick a pin in it, and we'll give it as a takeaway to ourselves.
Yes. Anyone out there can invent a stacking machine. There is a Employee of the Month T-shirt in it for you.
Ooh, nice.
All right, Dan. So I know you got to run, so maybe we better say goodbye here and strike up the band.
All right. Yeah, I got to head out of here. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in once again to the #1 firewood podcast in the world, the Woodhounds. Find us on your favorite podcasting platforms. And until next week, Joe.
Yes.
You want to send us out of here? Or you want me to?
I'm still sweating over here from shaking my fist. So
you're still mad and your arms are sore. And
I'm not mad. I'm agitated. I'm just frustrated. You know, it's like when you have your favorite football team, and everything's wrong. You know, gosh. If you're thinking, just give me 5 minutes with the Cleveland Browns and I will get this thing straightened out. And that's the way I feel about certain elements of the firewood industry.
Well, hopefully until next week, you can stay
calm
and be
not agitated
and have
a great day.